They've massaged all the mechanisms to be addictive. You're like a Skinner's pigeon or a rat who's just gonna click, 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 can't put the phone down. Food, they've taken sugar and they've weaponized it. They put it in all these different forms and varieties that you can't resist eating. Drugs, they've taken pharmaceuticals and plants and they've synthesized them. They've grown them in such a way that gets you addicted and you can't put them down. Porn, if you're a young male, you wander around the internet, it will sap your libido and you're not going to go out in real life in society anymore because you've got this incredibly stimulating stuff at your fingertips. Video games, social media, more things to get addicted to, and you have these large factories of people that are working to addict you to these things, and you stand alone. So the modern struggle of an individual is learning how to resist these things in the first place and draw your own boundaries. Hello there, and welcome back to Thames Tools channel. This channel is all about me sharing my passion for mostly software tools that I leverage to live an incredible and productive life. In this video, I'll showcase how I use a tool called OneSec, which is an app that enables me to maintain focus at work, prevent mindless app usage like doom scrolling on social media, like swiping on Tinder when I shouldn't be, like using Slack and Superhuman and work apps late at night that can then impact my sleep, and blocking the worst evil of it all, porn. All right, so this is the OneSec app, and note that in the app we just see stats and settings, and that's because you don't actually use the app to get the value. According to the calculations for OneSec, or rather estimations, it has saved me a whooping 14 days worth of time across almost 7,000 interventions. Now, what are interventions? So if we go here and try to open YouTube, I have OneSec connected to YouTube. And what happens is that after some time, it prompts you to take a deep breath. And there's a couple things. It points out how many times I've been trying to use it. It gives me some alternatives to open what is known as good apps like Kindle, or look at a few calendar events, or text mob. If I don't want to do any of these things, then what I can do is click continue to YouTube and specify an intention or a condition under which I am opening the app. So in this case, I can't sleep. And then I have to tell OneSec, well, how long do I want to use this app for? So for the sake of demo, we'll click 1 minute. Now OneSec lets me to use YouTube for 1 minute. As you can see, there is a dynamic island countdown at the top. And what happens after that 1 minute, I get prompted through a re-intervention. And that's the basic value proposition of OneSec. Now, the basic settings are as such, right? We have an intervention, which is minimal breathing. There are other options for interventions, as you can see, following the dot, rotating the phone and mirror. I've never tried those because I was always happy with the breathing intervention. Now let's go into more advanced settings for OneSec. My favorite one would be to set a custom duration for the breathing exercise. So the way you do that is you go to interventions, you open customize, and you set the duration of the intervention, which can last between 3 seconds all the way up to 60 seconds. I cannot imagine anyone being intervened for 60 seconds and then still wanting to open the app. But I have a mild 6 seconds. I think that does the job mostly for me. However, you can also specify app-specific durations, which I don't do. And then you can increase the usage, the duration of the intervention after every attempt that you try to open the app. In terms of my other favorite features on the advanced side, we've got a morning countdown. This is amazing because it integrates with Health Kit, and I have an 8 sleep as well as a Whoop tracker that tracks my sleep.
And as soon as it sends a data to HealthKit, OneSec then turns on a blocker. So in this case, for our a number of apps are blocked, including most of the social media apps. Now, I am not using a number of things here. I'm not using journaling, and I'm not using integration with Structured, which I think is a task management application. I am also, worth noting, not using intervention or blocking schedules. And that's because I have these schedules set up with focus filters. So if you are not familiar with focus filters, it is a native iOS feature, I think as of iOS 16, and it allows you to set up custom modes for do not disturb. So I have a daily focus filter called Deep Work that is a scheduled focus filter. It starts at 9 a.m. and ends at 5 p.m. and skips intervention for work apps like Superhuman and Slack, but completely blocks distracting apps like Hinge, Instagram, Reddit, TikTok, and Tinder. Additionally, I also have a fitness focus, and that one is triggered when I start a workout with my Apple Watch. And similarly to the deep work focus, it actually just blocks everything, including work apps. And the reason is because I don't want to get sucked into responding to a Slack message or an email, no matter how urgent it is during my workout. My workout is the time to completely disconnect and focus on myself, so I go and focus on my body and rejuvenate my mind and energy through the workout. In order to get OneSec working, you have to set it up using the Shortcuts app. So Shortcuts app should be available natively to you in iOS. So here what we'll go do, and these instructions are all available in the app, we'll go to the automation tab, and here click plus in the top right corner to create a new automation, and we will select the option of a trigger that is the app trigger. So there's two triggers in the app. You can either trigger it when the app is open or is closed, and we'll actually use both of them. So in this case, let's take an example of the Threads app, right? The new X Twitter competitor, and here we will select Threads is open, run immediately, and then toggle notify when run to off. Then we'll hit next, and in that option we'll select the blank automation, the first option right there. We'll click add action. Here we will select OneSec. There it is. And now we will select the third option, because when the app is open we want to activate OneSec. And then in the continue to, we will select Threads again, because that is the app we want to be redirected after the exercise. And that's it. We can hit done. So now what happens is that if we try opening Threads, we will get an intervention. And there you have it. The last bit of OneSec that I did tease earlier in the video is the ability to completely block pornographic content. That is the down here adult content detox, and it's enabled for me. And as you can see, these settings are locked for a duration of time. It only gives you 10 days, 30 days, or forever. And that is it for the setup on iOS for OneSec.
And that's the tour done and dusted. The OneSec does have options to install on macOS as well as browser extensions, but I will say that they're limited in its settings. You can't really synchronize the settings, and I think above all is just most useful on the phone. I will say that I pretty frequently use it on macOS, and I have very similar settings, but because I get most of my work done on the computer, I actually set up interventions for Slack, Superhuman, and certain work apps because I find myself mindlessly going into those work apps and trying to communicate away when I really should be focused on deep work that requires concentration and focus. But because it's difficult, my mind can go and like want to communicate. Two thoughts I want to leave you with. Our attention is a currency. Along with time, it's our most valuable asset. You may not feel it depending on your life, but everyone is competing for it, especially companies and social media apps. They want your attention because that attention leads to you spending money. So, guard your attention and leverage tools like OneSec to manage your attention and maintain focus, not only for productivity, but also for just sanity. The other thing here worth noting that what I've just showed off is super helpful for what I would call micro behaviors, like managing these small distractions that can really eat away at your day. But the real underlying thing worth noting is that it's governed by macro behaviors or like high level behaviors that are ultimately the determinant here. And what I mean by that is macro behaviors are like this larger lifestyle, potentially issues. For example, maybe you're lonely, or you have low self-esteem, or you have an unfulfilling job, and that's what's causing you to go to the apps and engage in incessant scrolling or getting distracted from whatever is unpleasant deep down below. And I think it's worth mentioning because if you do happen to face one of those issues, ultimately that underlying thing will drive your behavior and you will get rid of the shortcuts app, delete OneSec, and may fall back on your old unproductive habits. That doesn't mean that you have to go sign up for therapy, even though everyone should do therapy and like work on these macro issues. I think you can start with your social media habits or app usage habits using the micro behaviors, and then potentially over time get to those macro behaviors. But that's all I have to say. I am not a therapist. I am just a software tools geek and nerd, and it's been my pleasure to share OneSec with you. You can download it at the link down below, and this is not an affiliate video. This is just a fun fan video, and I hope you found this valuable. Please like and subscribe. I will be putting out, making videos weekly. And also, if you have any comments, feedback, thoughts, whatever, put them down on the comments or message me directly at TEMNCO, Tem&Co on Instagram or X. I will respond to everyone because I like chatting. But that's it. Bye.